Because at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Okay, I'm here with Mr. Burning Man. How you doing?
Better than I deserve all the time. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Okay.
I am very wonderful.
Okay.
Glad to see you.
It's
Doing well.
Hey, listen, it's better to be seen than to be viewed, and that's how I see it every day. So, what's going on?
Okay, I see you're back into comedy, and you took a 25-year hiatus. What made you want to get back on the stage?
Um, God, the Holy Spirit, and a compulsion to just say the truth. I didn't have a forum. I'm not a minister. I don't have a church. I'm not a politician. So I didn't have a platform, but I knew that I loved comedy, and I knew that I loved the truth. And then I had this spiritual awakening that just compelled me to say, hey, you are obligated to go out here and tell people the truth. So you can't fight the feeling. So I had to do that.
So, what is the major difference between the material you did 25 years ago versus what you came back with?
A voice and an identity. 25 years ago, and I was a newcomer. And like most newcomers, I thought comedy was telling jokes. I thought it was jokes. If you had a great series of jokes, one-liner jokes, then you were funny and you were a comedian. And it's taken, a lot of, this, the sweat of my brow and skin of life to realize the most hilarious things that I know are things that have actually happened in my life. And I can tell the story, and unlike the jokes, I don't have to remember. The jokes I had to remember, but you don't have to remember your life because you lived it. So
True.
that's the difference. Now I have an identity, I have a voice, and I have a truth to tell. So, eh,
And where do you plan on going with this new journey?
I don't know, because the reality is not knowing where you're going is the greatest way to find places you've never been. And so I'm kind of letting this thing take me wherever it goes. I'm not in it for the money. I don't need the money. I'm doing it, primarily for shits and giggles and the ability to have a platform to tell the truth in a humorous way, a palatable way, so that audiences can digest it and kind of see it, reflect upon it, even past the laugh, and say, yeah, but that's true.
Can you give me some examples of the everyday things you see that inspire your new material?
People, inspire me with new material. I can remember just one little excerpt from a bit where I was talking to a guy, and he had a reputation. He was kind of semi-famous in Palmetto, which is where I live. And, the short version of a long story, um, the story I told about him was absolutely true. I wanted to meet him. I asked him his name. They called him Short Rock. I asked him his name. He said Anthony J. Jackson. I asked him what did the J stand for, and he said my middle name. Well, that's hilarious. That's hilarious, and it actually happened at a bus stop here in Palmetto. So, and I worked it into a bit, and it was pretty nice.
And where are some of the places you are performing these days?
Primarily, I'm working at McCurdy's. I'm working at the Manatee Kava Bar. There are other places, but McCurdy's is my home base because I started comedy there. I used to go to workshops with Les McCurdy and Ken Sons, and met a lot of people there. Cheryl Underwood, couple of other people, Wanda Sykes, and it's not like they gave me comedic tips or anything, but it was great to be there, watch them perform at that stage in their career. This was like the early 90s. And McCurdy's is a pretty popular spot. It's internationally known. Shout out to Les and Kim. And so, that's where I'm comfortable because, again, all I want is a platform to tell people the truth. I don't need the bigger stages. I don't need the bigger venues because, hopefully the truth is like COVID and it'll spread itself.
So, at some point in time, do you see yourself maybe opening for a few mainstream comedians?
No. I don't ever see that happening, because I don't want that because that's way too complicated. And I'm a simple guy. I run my own business. I got a successful business doing sports advertising and stuff. And my motive isn't that. My motive is to just have a small platform where I can tell the truth to some people and hope they spread it. Listen, the internet would have been great for Jesus, but he had to work with what he worked with, and look what happened. It's still spreading.
Right.
Okay, so not that I liken myself to Jesus. I'm just talking about the logistics.
So this small area, as long as you can get your knowledge out in a funny way, this from the comfort of your home is where you would do it. And McCurdy's.
Absolutely. Because listen, when you've been through what I've been through, you learn to be grateful for all the blessings that you have received, are receiving, will receive, because you have faith in those. And when you reach a certain level of peace, you don't want any more, you want to do some more. And so you don't pray for some more, you kind of pray for some more to do, to be of service. And so I'm good. Listen, I got 3 cats and a chihuahua. They allow me to pay the bills, and they talk, and I listen, and that's my life.
I see you have a mic and some headphones there. When you're not on stage spreading your message, would you consider, a small podcast and spreading your message online?
I would consider it, except that in that area I'm functionally illiterate. I have no concept, and I've heard podcasts, and that's everything. Recently I got on Twitter, and I don't know anything about that because I'm a dinosaur. And so I don't even want to learn. However, if facilitated, would I do it occasionally? Well, yeah, sure, absolutely, because there's another platform for me to share some truth and humor. And I'm about that. That's God's work. And if God sees fit to bless me with the facility to do that, then I'll do that. But if you're asking me, will I, in any way, shape, or form say, okay, I want to do this? No, I won't do that. But if someone steps up to the plate and says, hey, Bernie Mann, you can do this, it'll be great. And my attitude is, okay, then do it. Because my attitude is also, I'm 69. I don't want to work. I don't want to work. I don't want to do any work. I'm in the venue of Clarence Avant. And if people don't know about Clarence Avant, look him up. I don't want to do any more work. I've done the work, okay? All right?
So as long as they put it together and you just show up and
then
talk.
That's fine. But I don't want to do any work. And my friends will tell you, I don't want to do any work.
So tell me about young Bernie.
Oh, he was a rapscallion, a bon-fee bon. He was a nice guy. He never, had a predatory bone in his body. It was all about being sworn to fun and loyal to none, and that was, how he rolled, and most of the time, the people involved were good with that because they knew going in, that's who I was. I was always genuine. You know, there were no gray areas, no ambiguities about who I was. I'm sworn to fun, loyal to none. I used to sit on the wall on Rhode Island Avenue in D.C. at these apartment buildings, and I was giving tennis lessons, and there were like about 10 women in there that I was giving lessons to, and I was having,
Oh my.
cardinal relationships with all of them, and they all knew. And all I would do is sit on the wall, and whoever drove by first, okay, and they even had each other's phone number in case, if I was late or delayed or what, they would call each other and say, "Hey, is he there?" You know. So I was always genuine and, open and honest,
So you were working on a first come, first served basis, and
I don't
they
know why you
also
use the
kept-
phrase "first come." I,
That's what it
don't
was.
listen.
That's what it was.
Okay, well, availability is the word I would have chosen.
Okay, so you grew up in D.C. What was it like growing up in your era?
It was great, music was a big influence. We were just beginning to go sound. Guys like the Soul Searchers and Father's Children and the Blackbirds. I worked with them for a little while and other groups. And the music was there and the atmosphere was there. So it was a real active musical community, and that was my primary focus until I went to college.
So before comedy, your love was music?
Absolutely, and it still is. It still is. That's not changed. I mean, that's not ever going to change.
Do you play any instruments?
I play a bunch of instruments, but my best thing was vocals because I have a unique ear to find the octave, the range, where it needs to be. And yeah, I play percussions and keyboards and dabble in bass and stuff like that. I've done some stuff, that's notable stuff, but I really don't dwell too much on what I've done as much as, okay, what am I doing now? What am I doing now? Because even when I took a hiatus from comedy, I really didn't talk about my comedic background simply because I wasn't doing it then. Why have a conversation with somebody telling them, well, I used to do this, I used to do that. I wasn't doing it.
Right.
Now I'll talk about comedy because I'm doing it. So I'm the same way with music.
So tell me about Comics on Parole.
Oh, that was, I'm not sure how that happened. I had a neighbor, Larry, and through him I reconnected with a guy in the music business, Peter Stroud. He's the musical director for Sheryl Crow. And somehow or another I got connected with this guy, Dan Glazier, and he knew a little bit about my background. He asked me would I do his show. I ended up doing his show. Then I ended up doing Jerry Farber's and Buckhead. Then I started doing some commercials, and I did them, but again, back to an earlier part, I hadn't found my voice. I hadn't found my identity. And so after I did that, I said, I can't do this anymore. Because this really isn't me. This is a character. I understood about being characters. I mean, it's like Jim Carrey and Fire Marshal Bill. That's a character.
Right.
And I was doing characters, but that's not what I do now. I don't do characters because I found my identity and found my voice.
I've watched some of your Comics on Parole, and I understand where you're coming from because what I've seen you do on stage is totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
That's and that should be the goal of any entertainer. Doesn't matter if you're a musician, a vocalist, or a comedian, or a movie star. And it should be the same thing if you're a garbage man, or if you're a mailman, or a waitress. You know, strive to improve what you're doing and be the best that you can be at what you're doing. I don't care if you don't want to be a waitress for the rest of your life. But while you're there, at least develop the habit of being the best you can be. That doesn't mean you have to be the best waitress in the world for the rest of your life. Just be the best that you can be at whatever you're doing, and let being the best be the habit.
So where does Burning Man go from here?
Like I say, not knowing where you're going is the best place to find places you've never been. So I don't know. You know, I believe in trust God, clean house, help others. So whatever God sends forth and kind of inspires me through the Spirit, then meow meow. Mr. McMitten's Dave Chappelle. Shout out to you, Dave. That's Dave Chappelle's partner, Mr. McMitten. Then that's what I do.
So we're not going to see Burning Man on tour. And if someone comes in and put it together, we might see you on screen doing maybe a podcast spreading your message. But
and I'm not writing. Listen, I'm not writing anything in stone.
Mm-hmm.
However, based upon the question today, that's where I am. Now, if something pops up tomorrow, and God and Mr. McMitten say, "Hey, that's a good deal." Depending, because like I say, I don't want to work. So it's going to have to be comfortable for me. So if the sun and the moon and the stars, yeah. However, as of right now, it's not even on the table.
And do you have more material for us?
Do I have more material? I guess you're just going to have to wait and see, aren't you?
All right, thank you for this interview, Mr. Bernie. Tell the people where they can see you, where they can find you.
I know they can reach me on YouTube at Bernie Man Stand Up, and they can reach me at Bernie Man 53 on Twitter. Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's what I know, because like I say, I'm limited. I'm a special needs, electronics person.
You gonna expand that social media presence?
I won't. Maybe someone will. But if you wait on me,
it'll never get done.
It won't, because I don't like to work.
All right. Well, thank you for blessing me with this interview.
Shout out.
Shout out to Bernie Man. You can find him on Twitter on Twitter at BernieMan53. And you can find him on YouTube at The Adventures of Bernie Man on YouTube. So my name is Sheena Henderson. Thank you for joining us. And have a great day, people.